Ladies and gentlemen, I, the great Pentious, am still alive after all. I, Angel Pentious, am here to look down upon my little eggies in chat. You fools! We are here today with another video from Cartoon Universe. Lilith is Eve, HAZBIN Hotel Theory, and real Eden lore. So, I'll just be clear here. Cartoon Universe asked me to react to this video because, listen, I know a thing or two about Kabbalah. So, he thinks that he's gonna out Kabbalah me. Alright, so we're getting into the crazy lore of this shit. As we know, Season 1 ended with possibly one of the coolest endings ever, introducing Lilith into the story. An incredibly powerful and pivotal character in this verse that showed up at the very freaking end for 1 second. Alright, she is going to be incredibly important. The Lilith is Eve ? Title, I don't think that's legitimate, because of, you know, simply Adam, well, Lucifer's telling Adam in the final episode that, you know, I was with both your wives, basically. So, listen, that implies that they're different characters, but here we are, baby. I am here and I am ready. The ultimate Lilith deep dive, because her character, gone for 7 years just like alastor, somehow just chilling in heaven, made a deal with loot, There are so many theories, so many things to talk about. Let's see what we got.
The long-standing theory that Lilith is Eve, how that would play out with what we know in the show, and why, mythologically speaking, the two are the same, even if they do turn out to be different in the show.
Yeah, right now, the show... All right. Mythologically, I don't know, bro. I think we're gonna get into like a whole big Kabbalah debate right now, and I don't think anyone in chat is ready for that.
I was trying to present them as two different characters, with Charlie reading about both of them in a storybook where Lilith and Eve even appear on screen together.
True. Also, very implied though from the story that they're different characters, but I do see what you're saying.
But according to the Kabbalistic tradition of Judaism, Lilith and Eve are essentially the same character, leading some fans to suspect that
not precisely. First of all, source, bro. You can't hit me with the I made it the fuck up, bro. It's not that they're the same character, it's that they represent the same thing. That is one. And two, Lilith did not exist as a human according to the Kabbalah, as far as I understand.
The story that Charlie is reading is actually a manufactured fairy tale meant to mislead her.
Yeah, it's literally propaganda. She's out there reading hell propaganda.
My name is Deep Cut, demons call me Imp Cut, welcome.
Bro, what if Adam respawns in hell, just like Pentious respawned in heaven? That would be incredible. That would literally make my whole day.
Back to the Cartoon Universe office, where we're hanging out with the Cartoon Universe crew, and hit that subscribe button if you want me to stop this introduction and jump into the video. Go ahead,
right.
I'll wait.
Alright, dude,
now,
subscribe to him, subscribe to me, subscribe to everybody, leave likes.
And its expanded Helliverse are well known to take inspiration from real-life mythology.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. I would call it theology, not mythology, because Kabbalah is all true and real, and if you don't understand, then you're just like, come on, bro.
And while its story is ultimately unique, it's premised on a combination of a lot of different mythological ideas and...
Yeah, and like, you have idiots like... Dude, there was this one video that people kept sending to me. Apparently, Tim Pool was reacting to HAZBIN Hotel, calling it all satanic and shit because it's not lore accurate to the Bible. No fucking shit, it's not lore accurate. This is fiction. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, lore accurate? It's obviously fiction. It's just inspired in some way.
Philosophies. Most of you are well aware of the story of the Garden of Eden, where God is said to create the first human, Adam.
Yeah, that's the one major difference between HAZBIN Hotel and, you know, the Bible. HAZBIN Hotel starts off with saying the angels created Adam, okay? Bro, God created Adam.
Adam from the dust of the earth. He later creates Eve from his rib or side so that he may...
Based rib. This is like when you go to your girlfriend and you're like, hey, rib, how you doing, honey? And it's like the sexiest thing in the world because you're just living after Dick Master.
Have the perfect partner for him. At some point, the serpent talks to Eve and convinces her to eat from the tree of forbidden knowledge, the one tree God asked them not to eat from. For this, God punishes the serpent by forcing him to crawl on his belly the way snakes do today.
Yeah, cut off his legs, all the food he eats tastes like shit. Yo, terrible snake punishment.
With the humans being dealt their own punishments while being cast out of Eden. Of course, in the show, this plays out very differently. Thus far, God is something the higher beings mostly ignore.
Yeah, which is a very important thing to recognize. The fact that God so far is not actually canon to HAZBIN Hotel is a little wild.
With the creation of life in the universe being credited to the various classes of angels, their most senior members working together as a group called
Hell is forever. Dude, I love Adam. What a crazy good antagonist.
Elders. In this version, the mysterious new character Lilith is written to be Adam's first wife, but Adam demands that she submit to him, and so she flees from the Garden of Eden.
Bye.
Here she meets Lucifer, and Lucifer enters the garden.
Dude, I remember freaking Tim Pool saying in his reaction, it's like, bro, they're so woke that God created them as equals. And it's like, I'm just sitting here, bro, God did create. I'm like, what the fuck are you what are you talking about? Oh, you think you're better? Like, what does that mean?
Of Eden as a serpent to convince Eve to eat the fruit of forbidden knowledge. This presumably led to Adam and Eve being cast out of the Garden of Eden in the show, with Lucifer and Lilith thrown into hell for working together. So,
Bye-bye.
who is
Bye-bye.
Lilith in real-life mythology?
All right, let's do it, baby. Let's jump right into it. Have you checked your freaking boxes, bro?
Is a well-known mythological figure that is primarily found in Judaism, without there being a real equivalent in the Christian tradition. Lilith is
interesting. I didn't actually know that. I thought she was also in Christianity. I didn't realize she was only in Judaism.
not mentioned in the Bible as the wife of Adam, but is part of what we call the...
She's not actually mentioned in the Bible at all. She shows up in the Talmud, in the Zohar, and in the Apocrypha, but she doesn't actually show up in the Bible canon.
Oral tradition. This tradition states that it started at the exact time as the written Torah, or the first 5 books of the Bible.
True.
Which were...
In Judaism, there is an idea of a written Bible as well as an oral Bible that has been passed down the generations, and that is where she spawns from. That is what the Talmud is supposed to be.
Said to be given to Moses, with the priest among the Israelites receiving the expanded oral version of the Torah, while Moses
we got the DLC, boys. Let's go.
received just his written version. This, like the story of Moses writing or receiving the Torah, is more so a metaphor for the origins of their work. The Torah, and really most mythological writings from antiquity, only had their
theological writings, bro. Bro, you're such a hater, bro. Okay, I'm just making a joke. Don't get offended, Cartoon Universe. I love your work.
stories written down long after an oral tradition or musical version already existed.
I can't believe he knows this, honestly. I've studied this intensely, so I am very impressed. So basically, the way it worked, there was the written traditions as well as the oral traditions. The written ones is the Old Testament. The oral traditions were laws and rules and stories passed down generation to generation orally through songs and hints to remember them, until at some point around 1,000 years after the written Torah was given, basically it got codified into various texts. For example, the Zohar or the Talmud, or there are many such texts of the equivalent time period that were written about 2,000 years ago. And that is the written version of the oral tradition that was passed down from the actual getting the Bible, the Old Testament, to the time that it was codified into the Talmud. That's the history lesson for y'all.
Evidenced by the written stories themselves often having musical structures to them in the original Hebrew. So when the
So it was originally done in a musical purpose, the oral tradition, because that's how people would remember it. People would pass down the songs from generation to generation because it's so much easier to remember it through singing and through songs than to actually remember it through writing. After a lot of wars happened, because remember, the Jews are probably the most persecuted race in the history of humanity, people kept forgetting, people had a hard time, and it literally only became the actual rabbis that actually knew this stuff, and they were able to remember all of it, and suddenly people started disagreeing about some traditions as they were passed down. That's when they decided that they couldn't just keep it oral and they had to actually codify it and write it down. That's how it got written down into become what, you know, the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud is, the Jerusalem Talmud.
Jewish tradition states that their oral Torah is an expanded version of the written Torah. It does have some legitimacy to it.
Some legitimacy? What do you mean, some legitimacy to it? Bro! Oh my god. Hold on. There's a literal verse in the Bible that actually alludes to the oral Torah existing. And that is, okay, dude, I don't know how to say any of this in English. I know all this stuff in Hebrew. I don't actually have a fucking English Bible. But you don't care. Anyway, the point is, the concept of a rebellious elder is a concept that's talked about, and it is someone that says something that goes against the oral Torah. All right. Hebrew? No. He cooked. Yes. So basically, even in the actual Bible, it definitely alludes to the idea that there is actually an oral Torah as well. All right, that's the freaking nutshell answer. All right.
The oral tradition is more likely to evolve and change and adapt, but that was always the case with oral traditions, which would incorporate new information and history to better understand their original narratives passed down to them, instead of blindly holding to any singular idea from deep in the past.
Yeah, so the ultimate point, though, is despite the fact that things do evolve over time and new things are introduced into religious systems, I think what is very important to note is that the oral tradition is never actually going to contradict the written tradition. The written tradition is actually that word is law, if you will, according to the oral tradition. The oral tradition is just going to basically elucidate that or expand certain areas that are left rather secretive or closed.
So where does Lilith fit?
Anyway, he didn't get to Kabbalah yet. I'm just saying, because even within the oral tradition, there is a hidden oral tradition and a revealed oral tradition. Again, I know all these terms in Hebrew. I don't know any of these terms in English, so I'm just kind of translating them in my head. So the Kabbalah is the hidden oral tradition.
All of this. Much of these oral traditions would be compiled in various written works in later times.
Yeah.
The most important here being the Zohar.
Well, so that one would be the most important in regards to hidden oral traditions. In regards to the revealed one, it would probably be more like the Talmud. But even the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, actually does have mentions of Lilith. Not so much as a demon, more as like a not as much as a named demon, almost as like a female demon. Like there are Shadim, that is male demons, and then there's Lilith, that is female demons. That's kind of how they are alluded to in the Talmud. In the Zohar, it gets a lot more into the whole Satan relationship,
which is claimed to have been written by a famous rabbi in the early centuries of Christianity. But
bro, you're not even gonna talk about mention my guy by my name, Shimon, the son of Yochai, bro. You're not even gonna mention him by name. Early times of Christianity. Oh, you guy, you dude, bros. What? Oh, anyway,
which has been more accurately.
I think it was actually, he might have been pre-Christianity. I'm not sure.
To the 12th century AD, using those
so
rabbis.
12th century is where they rewrote the script. The script is historically dated back to I think BC. I think it was about 2,000 years ago. I don't remember. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But basically, they rewrote it and brought it down through the ages, transliterating all the different manuscripts into an actual book in the 1200s.
Rabbis as characters to explain the different, sometimes contradictory claims of how to interpret the Torah. Lilith in the Zohar is presented as the first wife or partner of Adam in various ways. This hails from an even older text called the Alphabet of Ben Sira, which
way older text, first of all, way older text. So Ben Sira was actually the son of Jeremiah the prophet, and his book was never actually included into the actual Bible canon. So way older.
Portrayed Lilith as being made from the same dust as Adam, and thus not wanting to be subservient to him.
So this concept, I think it's important to note that the Zohar talks in metaphors pretty much exclusively. So when you see something like this, it doesn't necessarily mean that Lilith per se had agency. It was a lot more focused on the idea that Lilith is the embodiment of free will. I talk about this in my analysis that I recorded on Lucifer from HAZBIN Hotel. But the embodiment of free will is what Lucifer actually gave humanity. By giving them evil, he actually gave them the ability to choose to do either right or wrong. So being that Lilith is the embodiment of free will, that is why I will not lie below. That's what that is alluding to, I believe.
This text ends with Lilith simply fleeing the garden and becoming something of a cursed spirit, but the Zohar expands on the tradition surrounding her. In the Zohar, she is said to marry Samael, who is
That's Satan, by the way. That is Satan.
Presented as a sort of leader of the fallen angels from the Book of Enoch. This extra-biblical text was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls and portrayed a group of fallen angels as rebelling against God by taking human wives and giving their offspring forbidden knowledge. Samael is not mentioned in this text, but rather his name was a later invention used to unify the different fallen angels of the Book of Enoch into a single character. The Book of Enoch is an extra-biblical...
The Book of Enoch also not part of the biblical canon, but, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It's very interesting, though. Fascinating stuff in there.
Said, meaning it's not part of the original compilation of the Old Testament or the Torah,
Yep.
but instead appears to be an attempt to add some of the oral
It is an apocrypha, because Enoch was, he was one of the earliest generations of man. Like, in the Bible, he was before the flood. And it's a wild read, because according to the book of Enoch, he became an angel. He was a human being that was very, very, like, holy and stuff, and he became an angel. So you have a lot of interesting stuff in there.
Tradition surrounding the Torah to a new text. The Torah is a compilation of stories, as I said, with many of them appearing to be cut down in length when compared to the Genesis Apocryphon, which featured expanded versions of the stories that still maintained much of the text used in the biblical versions, indicating...
I think what's important to recognize is the fact that the reason why the Torah was this abridged version and not mention any of this stuff is because ultimately it doesn't matter. I think what's important to recognize, and again, this is mentioned in the oral tradition many times, everything, there's a reason for everything that's said there. It doesn't need to say all the stories unless there is something that could be learned or gleaned from that story. So talking about what angels did what might not necessarily need to be included because it's irrelevant to our lives. I think that's the basic understood explanation for this.
That the original Bible stories may have come from longer traditions that were trimmed down when being transcribed, or even when they were being compiled into the larger work. The Book of Enoch expanded on the story of Genesis 6, which begins the
Dude did so much good research for this video. Dude did such a good freaking job here. Cartoon Universe, congratulations, bro.
Narrative of Noah's Ark by talking about the sons of God and their offspring, the Nephilim, who were born from those angels breeding with the daughters of man. In the Zohar, Samael is said to take
literally Nephilim translated to the fallen ones.
Lilith as his wife, making her the mother of all demons.
This was all just a trick to lure everyone into Bible study.
But the interpretations don't end there. Samael is then said to ride the serpent in order to enter the Garden of Eden, where he doesn't just convince Eve to eat from the fruit of forbidden knowledge, but actually ends up impregnating her.
You don't need to believe in the Zohar to say that. That is actually in the Talmud itself. All right, that is in the Tractate of Idol Worship, beginning of the 2nd chapter. That is, you don't even need the Zohar, which its origins are shrouded in mystery. Could only really be tracked back to the 1200s. Babylonian Talmud is one of the oldest texts we have, bro. Backed all the way to 2,000 years ago. Easy, very confirmed.
Creating that line of Nephilim, which is equated with her first son Cain and his descendants. This interpretation may seem a bit too expanded on the surface, but it's actually just designed to make you focus on details that already exist in the biblical version. In the Garden of Eden, the serpent is not directly stated to have impregnated Eve like in the Zohar, but God does state that there will be enmity between the seed of the serpent.
See, but that's what it means. It's like it'll read between the lines. It'll kind of it expands certain areas. It's not like it'll ever contradict the actual Bible.
The descendants of Eve. However, after this, we don't directly hear about the serpent again, but instead we are given the story of enmity between the two lines of humans, the line of Cain and the line of Abel, later...
Yeah, well, not so much the line as much as just between the two of them, but as far as I understand. But one thing that is important to mention, according to the Talmud, the angel of death, Satan, the snake, all of these guys are the same person. Right? It's the same guy, one dude, many hats. Also, the whole idea of Satan rebelling against God and becoming a fallen angel and cast down to hell, Christian concept that has no bearing in Judaism whatsoever. Satan is not some powerful angel that rebelled and got thrown out. According to Judaism, he's basically the lowest angel, and his job is to tempt people. Because again, that is free will. Temptation is free will.
Replaced by Seth. Like the Torah and Bible themselves, the Book of Genesis is a compilation of pre-existing stories that were later placed together. While some details were changed to make them flow into each other, they each retained their own unique symbols from one story to the next. Meaning in one story, the fallen angels are symbolized by just a serpent, in the next by a genealogy of Cain, before being called the...
What? Well done. What?
Meaning in one story, the fallen angels are symbolized by just a serpent.
First of all, again, that is Christianity. Judaism, serpent is not symbolizing fallen angels. There is no concept of fallen angels in Judaism. So, just trying to explain a little.
And the next by a genealogy of Cain.
All right, again, not a Christian concept. According to Judaism, Cain was a guy who fucked up, and that's it. No genealogy of angels there. okay? Just saying. He was a
Before
guy who did something bad.
Called the Sons of God and Nephilim in Noah's Ark, and later referred to as Anakim in other parts of the Bible.
Anakin? Nani?
Each reflecting different perspectives on the same historical narrative. The Zohar is written as a series of conversations between rabbis, each sharing what had been passed down to them from their teachers, showcasing differences from where certain communities had diverged, but still expressing the same basic idea.
Yeah, like the time that Anakin showed up in the Bible and said, "Sorry, younglings, it's Jover. Nah, I'm gonna win." I lost my shit. That was crazy.
Other passages will even claim to have Adam being the one who slept with Lilith, creating a race of demons in his sleep. But it's still the same story as Samael sleeping with Eve or Samael sleeping with Lilith. All of these contradictions were placed side by side on...
Are they contradictions though? Where's the contradiction? I don't know. I don't see it.
On purpose, not to say that none of them are true, but rather that they all hail from the same true tradition that these stories were originally founded upon.
Interesting perspective, but I don't know why this is like why this is a contradiction. You could have the idea. So according to the Talmud, Adam created Lilith. Adam created Lilith as well as demons through spilling his seed needlessly. This is before Eve was created. All right. The understanding that Lilith was sleeping with Adam, that is a very Zohar style concept. Now, what is very interesting is when Anakin said, "I have the high ground," and everyone couldn't believe it. Everyone was like, "Oh my god, he just serpentious all over the place. That was crazy."
Which was of humans and divine angelic beings coming together to create a new race of man. In the original Eden narrative, Eve was the mother of Cain, the line of giants, as well as the mother of Seth, the virtuous line. She had...
So, again, that is not according to the Jewish oral tradition, is that the giants actually came from angels that... Okay, it's a long story. That those are the Nephilim, the quote-unquote fallen angels. They're not exactly how Christianity understands fallen angels, but those guys are the giants, not having anything to do with Cain.
Throughout history, been associated with evil because of her eating the forbidden fruit of knowledge, but in other times she was venerated almost to the levels of a goddess.
Who? What?
But in other times, she was venerated almost to the levels of a goddess.
What does that even mean? People worship Eve like a goddess? Who did that?
It is no secret that Adam means man, with mankind in the Hebrew of the Bible best being described with the term Ben Adam, which means
son of man.
Son of Adam. Eve comes from the Hebrew Shavah, which means creator, indicating that she represented the earliest of...
He said the word chava, and I was like, what the hell is it? Okay, chava. All right, dude. All right. I was like, nani? I could not believe it. Chava, what the hell's chava? I never heard of that. Oh, okay, all right, dude. okay, chava, got it.
Women as a whole, and not just one woman in particular. This is why in the Book of Enoch, there is no singular serpent or singular Eve, but rather the serpent is an...
But then again, Book of Enoch, not canon. Just saying.
Entire tribe of fallen angels, and the...
Dude, this is such a wild discussion. There's so many interpretations and people that want to understand or believe in certain areas. But basically, I get the point he's trying to make, that Eve and Lilith are the same thing. And while, first of all, in the lore of HAZBIN Hotel, I don't see it. Secondly, bro did not have a single source in all of his Kabbalistic understanding and knowledge of how he could say that they are the same. So what I was saying, the reason why they are often conflated in certain ways is because both of them embody action and a final product to some degree in Kabbalistic terms. Okay, whatever. You don't care. None of you care. We're just continuing, all right? None of you care.
The role of Eve is suddenly taken by the many wives that they took. In traditions that wish to honor and venerate Eve as the creator of all human life, the mother of all humans, the distinction between Eve and Lilith would allow them to do so while maintaining the historical meaning of the Garden of Eden narrative. Eve would maintain the pure ideas we have of her as our universal mother who was deceived by someone evil, representing all of the women before true civilization or society began to develop, with the first real society or city being started by Cain of the serpent line. Lilith would
Cain of the serpent line? Bro, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Cain is not the serpent line. Cain is human, son of Adam and Eve, brother Abel. No.
Represent the women specifically who were taken by or married into that supposed line of fallen angels, ironically representing more so later generations of women, but somehow managing to have their lore claim that they were the first.
So basically, everyone on OnlyFans is Eve's fault, is what you're saying, cartoon universe. Okay, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but that's basically what you're saying right now.
So, is Eve Lilith? As far as this tradition goes, I would say that Lilith and Eve are, of course, ultimately the same character.
Again, very different interpretation here. I don't think that is the case. Again, maybe in HAZBIN Hotel it is. Who knows? Unlikely because of what Lucifer said, that, you know, he kind of was slept with both of Adam's ex-wives. But according to Kabbalistic teachings, they are not the same person. In fact, it's unclear if Lilith actually is a being with her own agency at all. That is very unclear. They are both used as representations and embodiments of a final product, of the final goal of mankind that you know, makes the next generation. And that idea is what both of them symbolize.
But that their distinction also has its own purpose. The way mythology and symbolism works as a whole means both the fact that they are separate and the same are technically true. And with that in mind, it wouldn't surprise me if they were the same character in HAZBIN Hotel, or if it turned out that they were entirely separate entities here. If we combine the characters of Eve and Lilith from within Charlie's storybook, it paints a bit of a different picture.
Yeah, it paints a massive question mark. Lilith left Adam so Eve could, what?
The story claims that Lilith simply fled, indicating the end to the relationship before meeting Lucifer. But the story of the serpent seducing Eve, so to speak, comes with the implication of Eve cheating on Adam, a deeper betrayal that would make Lucifer not just some guy that Lilith met.
Again, the idea of the serpent sleeping with Eve, this could also be metaphor for, in some way. It's really hard to sometimes differentiate in, like, the stories in these ancient texts, what's meant to be taken literally and what's meant to be taken as metaphor. Who knows? But there is a source to that one, though.
Later, but someone who stole Lilith away from him. Perhaps all it took for Lilith to want to leave Adam was the gift of free will, but there's so many ways this can go. What do you guys think?
Dude, free will was way after. Adam only got free will after he ate from the Tree of Knowledge, which was way after Lilith's time. He was already a happily married man to Eve, who might or might not have just slept with the serpent. But the point is that is well after that. Tree of Knowledge is post-Lilith, according to every source. So, and Tree of Knowledge, according to Kabbalah, is the source of good and evil, which is the source of free will, the ability to choose between good and evil. Based on that timeline, very different freaking people. I'm just saying. So, I don't know if they're gonna be the same people in HAZBIN Hotel. That would be crazy. I very, very much doubt it. But in Kabbalistic lore, they are very different. They just represent the same thing, which is why sometimes they can perhaps be interchanged sometimes.
Let me know your theory.
And that is why I will be having sex with everybody! Bro, the serpent just knows what he's doing!
In the comments down below, and if you've got some good ones, maybe I'll make a video out of it.
That was a good video, though. That was a really good video. Man did a lot of research, and while I disagree with your interpretation, does not mean I don't respect you. Thank you, Mr. Cartoon Universe, for asking me to react to this one. This was a banger, for sure. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it. This was an interesting insight. I think Lilith as a character in HAZBIN Hotel is truly fascinating. I love how season 1 ends you with, like, the ultimate cliffhanger. Double your research, and this was a more educational video than I've ever expected. Anyway, as God said in Deuteronomy, I have the high ground, Anakin. Stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.